Hi, and welcome to this video where I'm going to explain a little bit about Milestone 4. And it's the last milestone we do before putting it all together into the final project. And as I've said, that is by and large a compilation of the milestones you've done. There's some things that tie it together and what have you, but so it's not as big of an undertaking as it may sound, but because you've already done most of the work. All right, so let's talk about what goes into Milestone 4, and that is, it's all about the marketing message. And for you to frame that properly, you need to review who your target market is, what needs and wants you will address, and that really comes from your product discussion that you had in the previous milestone. And because you're part of an existing brand, you have to think about how you will utilize that relationship in your marketing messaging as well. So let's talk about some of the things you want to try to do here. So the very first step is you need to set your message objectives. So you want to answer what is the primary goal for your introductory advertising? Is it, for example, is it to build awareness, the brand association we just talked about, some type of offer to act on? As you can appreciate, most marketing messaging has to be done in pretty concise ways, so you have to really think strong and hard about what your primary objectives are, okay? So then we're going to talk about the approach that you're going to use with your ad, and in this case we want to talk about what's the primary approach to it. If you recall from the text, you read about cognitive or emotional types of approaches to it, so make a choice of those. If it's a cognitive approach, it's really to support a rational message, a comparative versus a non-comparative type of ad. So it's I'm not going to say more logical, but just kind of presents things in a logical way. And an emotional message is really trying to connect more to the emotional side of the target. For example, showing a family enjoying the product, or friends at a party enjoying the product, so there's an emotional element to it. So you want to kind of focus on which one of those you're going to work on. Step 2 is to design the ad. So depending on your primary approach, if it's cognitive, usually it's one-sided, concentrate on a primary feature. If it's two-sided, you might want to present it from a pros and cons standpoint to other alternatives that are out there. And if it's emotional, you can use a dramatic approach, a problem addressed with a product as the solution. You can do negative emotion approach too, even humor, things like that. Be real careful with that. It can backfire. And not what one person thinks is funny does everybody think is funny, right? So we know that. So I would tread lightly on that, particularly in a product introduction. Okay. Step 3 is to outline the message. So you want to outline the primary message, outline the supporting message, outline a secondary message if you have one. You don't necessarily even have to have one, but you do have to have a closing, and the closing is really what kind of action you're really looking for the person watching the ad or being exposed to the ad. What do you want them to do as a result of it? And that could be a lot of different things, obviously. So how will you measure the effectiveness of the ad? Outline 2 separate ways to evaluate from actually, I said this from the lecture, but I would say just do it from the book. It's fine. And why do you think they will measure effectiveness best? So use a couple of examples from the book and say these are things we do. Now, if you notice, I'm simplifying all these things. You can certainly make lots more choices, and you can have things overlap and what have you. You don't have to necessarily pick one. But this is for the purposes of working through this milestone. In reality, a marketing plan would have quite a bit more going on here. So now you have the message, but where are you going to say it? So that's where you have to think about marketing channels. They've proliferated in a huge way in a relatively short period of time. So back in the 1960s, television ad time, if you've never seen the show Mad Men, it's kind of fun to watch. I'm not necessarily recommending it, but it was the focus of it was Life had an advertising agency back in the 1960s. Television ad time was national for national networks. Local advertising on television was done on local stations. So today, with cable television, for example, it introduces thousands more time slots, and it requires a completely new way to manage things. So you have to make many more decisions, and because of that, it led to analytics, and now technology is taking over. Our friends AI and big data combining together to actually do most of the media buying on the national level, through television, for example. Okay, so I like this infographic. It shows. I know it's hard to see, but it's also in our module. But it shows how things have changed from 1980 to 2020, which, in the whole scheme of things, is not that long a period of time, but things have changed dramatically. And I'm not sure if I can really zero in on this. I'm going to try. Okay, here we go. So one of the key things I see is, for example, television had peaked back in around 2000 or so, and it started to go down because the internet and the online activity was really going up. Print has been going down pretty steadily. And you can see just all the different things that are going on here. So as you can see, things are changing. The way we do promotions, and where we do promotions, is really changing a lot, because our target market is changing how they're spending their time. People are spending less time watching TV and spending more time on streaming, for example, or something along those lines. So anyway, that's all what's been going on, and it's a great infographic. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that. And it's a really great infographic, so definitely take a look at that. And then, of course, rationally, advertisers are altering their spending and how they're actually doing advertising. So not surprisingly, things have been changing. So CTV has been on the increase. Social media has been on the increase. Paid search has really been solid and continues to grow. SEM is search engine management. Podcasts are gaining in popularity. Digital video, all these, as you can see, all the different digital things are really are what are growing. Linear TV, the broadcast TV, is flat to declining. One of the reasons for that is it is still huge, but its influence is starting to wane. And other traditional media, radio, print, direct mail, all those kinds of things have also been on the decrease. So with lots more choices means a lot more management of the outlets. Keep that in mind as you think about what to do. So the template for Milestone 4, follow this very closely. In fact, I strongly suggest you use these things as headers so that your message does not get lost in a lot of verbiage. So you want to summarize your target market. You should be used to that by now. Talk about your ad objectives, as was pointed out in this presentation, 2 to 3 paragraphs. Design the ad itself in 1 to 2 paragraphs. Outline the message in 3 to 4 paragraphs, and feel free, and I would strongly suggest you cite the text to help you guide you through the concepts that you're forwarding there. Define your marketing channels. That's about 3 paragraphs. And then how you will measure the effectiveness, calling that 2 paragraphs. And finally, summarize why this ad will best connect with your target market. That's the most important thing to keep in mind with anything promotional, is that you meet your target market where they are with a message that resonates with them. This isn't about anything. A lot of times people get confused and say, oh, this is all about being creative and being funny and interesting and what have you. It's like, well, that's fine if that's what your target market's looking for. If they're not, you have to listen to what they want to do and what they're looking for. Okay, so that's it. That's the milestone. That's the template. Please follow it very closely, and then again, you're going to before the final plan submission, basically, you're going to make sure that you've updated all your milestones with the feedback that I've given you, which I apologize for being a little slow on, but at least you'll have it. Make those changes, and it'll be much easier and cleaner to put together and put you in a better position to get a good grade. Okay, so that's it. That's Milestone 4. Please let me know if you have any questions, and best of luck with it.